The Horde, written by no one from New England. The menace has spread across the galaxy and continues to inexorably do so. The horde of clicking and clacking shells scrape across rocks. They pick their way at plant stalks. They jab their pointed feet into the very flesh of anything they can digest. They do these things as they swarm across everything, their ravenous maws devouring every digestible morsel that their claws can crush, rip or shred. The only worlds that have been safe from the horror of their infestation are those whose environments are so harsh that no life can survive on the surface. Even then, out in the darkness, they could have made hibernation colonies from which they could respread across the cosmos at any time. Every starfaring race knows of them, and equally so, fears their reproduction cycles, fears their emergence from a long sleep on the 23rd or the 29th cycle before the adults either hide themselves deep or die, leaving billions of eggs and larvae to grow until the next cycle. No one, not even the vast horde itself, knows which world spawned their like, nor is there any indicator of how long their menace has writhed across the blackness of space. For all of the sentients who have encountered them, they simply are. They are a massive threat, and precautions need to be taken in advance of them waking to preserve some semblance of the societies of the worlds that have fallen victim to the great armoured monsters from the stars. Children are taught from a young age to flee from anything resembling the monsters, even tiny versions, because where there is one, there are many. Where there are many, there are millions. Where there are millions, there is a danger to all. Millions of tiny legs can stab through the youth of any sentient species, inducing intense pain and inflammation before the pincers start tearing the flesh from their bodies, devouring them whole in bites as the swarm hides them from any hope of rescue. The little ones can quite easily be crushed, but doing so draws the attention of the horde, and any who dare to crush one are soon victims of the many. They can be obliterated by projectiles, but their collective intellect quickly determines the origin and will overrun it to protect the horde as a whole. The individual monsters have no sense of self-preservation, but their collective hungers for life eternal, and will eradicate entire worlds to accomplish it, before harvesting the resources to flee to the blackness of eternity for another world. There are histories that show worlds succumbing to the monsters in as few as 4 reproductive cycles, though the more technologically adept worlds have achieved stalemates with the horde, such that neither can either eradicate the other from the very essence of the planet. These worlds are the most prepared when the claws sprout from the ground, but they are also the ones that suffer the heaviest during the rampage of gnashing, armour-plated claws. Most worlds succumb after a few hundred years, each cycle of hatchlings draining a bit more of the ecosystem in the growth of the horde. These worlds flee, often taking eggs with them to start the cycle anew on a new planet, ravaging the escapees before any of them even have a chance to establish a new life. The Galactic Council of Sentience has a standing policy of destroying any horde vessels that are encountered in deep space, but the odds of such encounters are extremely low. The GCS also has a policy of expending any effort, including exhausting the fuel supplies of entire fleets, to push any horde ships found entering a system directly into a collision path with the star. The energy needed to create such Delta V is worthwhile, as it has been the only way to protect worlds from an onslaught. The GCS also has a standing policy of leaving worlds with developing sentience alone, and allowing them to develop their own star travel before revealing any secrets of the cosmos to them, except when such a world is in direct line to be invaded by the Horde. The GCS is one exception to the non-interference clauses for developing worlds is to warn them and save them if possible from a Horde invasion. It was not possible to do anything but report the dire situation around Yellow Star 176J438b. The Horde rock ships were slowly tumbling through space on a collision course with the third planet in the system, the only planet that supported any conventional life forms and one of the 4 bodies in the system that were known to be within range of the Horde's tolerances. Report and wait. The only concern is, do we tell the sentients of the world, who have barely touched the sky around their world, that their end is nigh? Or do we allow them the peace of ignorance until the last moments of their existence? Anthropologists have recommended both courses of action many times in history, all depending on the understanding of the world in question. If it is believed that the news of impending destruction will cause their society to implode and rain a special kind of horror down upon them of their own doing, then it is always determined to let them survive in ignorance until the monsters fall to the world and begin devouring everything. If, however, their development arc indicates that they will band together and find some sort of collective solace in knowing that they are not alone in the cosmos, and that the others chose to warn them of an incoming apocalypse so that they can try to prepare, then the GCS permits contact and warning. Either way, the planet is doomed, but how their destruction plays out is the only assistance that can be offered to them. Yellow Star 176J438b, it turns out, is a bit of an anomaly, as their culture is so heterogeneous that the anthropologists are not sure which is the best course of action. The GCS waits. The observing survey ship waits. The Horde tumbles ever closer. The survey ship reports in that the sentients of the doomed world have launched a probe at the Horde vessel. A primitive craft, equipped with many sensors and electronics to clearly try to study the inbound vessel, but also armed with a nuclear warhead the likes of which no sentients in the entire GCS have ever built before. The probe vessel closes range on the Horde ship, 2 silent and soulless entities sliding through the emptiness of space between the worlds of this remote star system. The probe, using all of its resources to ascertain what the sentients of the world have seen in the heavens, careens without power towards its destination, which, just hours before the impact, alters the vector of its travel by a fraction of a degree in all accesses, allowing the sentient probe to pass harmlessly past it by, now destined to be lost in the vast emptiness of interstellar space. There are but a few weeks before the Horde lands on the world and the great devouring begins. The sentients of that world generate a vast increase in radio chatter about the mystery object. The survey team mourns for the future that they must witness. The Horde's giant rock ship hurtles slowly, altering its spin and its trajectory in such a manner that it will perform a graceful landing on the remote world. A graceful landing followed by a vomitous disgorging of legs and pincers onto the land and into the seas of the world. The sentients, aware that the giant rock is under some sort of power and apparently going to land instead of raining destruction on them in one giant collision, gather by the hundreds of thousands to see the unprecedented event in their history. They watch as the rock rolls out of the heavens, shunning fire and smoke and blasting heat in intolerable waves, as it gently sinks halfway into the ground. The trees around it erupt in flames before a vast emission of CO2 extinguishes the fires and the people within range. The corpses simply fall where they suffocated from the wall of gas. The rock cracks open and the monsters emerge. Little ones, the size of the hands of the sentients, emerge in the millions, followed by monstrous beings of various sizes. The tiny critters swarm over the corpses of the dead, shredding their flesh and clothes and devouring them, leaving skeletal remains in their wake. The larger monsters swing their claws out and grab bystanders, crushing them in their great pincers or ripping them in twain, before gorging on them. The sentients retreat. The screaming of the cacophony of panic fills the skies nearby and ripples through the radio waves in the broadcasts of their world.
Them aliens are crabs!
One specific sentient is seen over and over again in various broadcasts in various frequencies and formats.
They are monster crabs from outer space. Well, you know what? We know how to deal with crabs where I come from.
And with that, the sentients of the world begin to mobilise. A vast moat of fire was laid and maintained around the landing site so that the crabs could not flee across the land. The sentients brought in vast tanks of water, and to the shock of the anthropology observers, began heating the tanks of water. The sentients using flying machines to grab the largest of the horde and dropping them into the boiling water. They scooped up the little hordelings by the millions and threw them in the water. The horde thrashed and fought, but each individual's death lessened their intellect and their ability to try and outsmart the beings of this world. The sentients, after a short span of weeks, had eradicated all of the active members of the horde on their world. Each and every one was boiled or roasted, and then, to the horrors of the observers, eaten. The sentients of this world, it seems, had many similar forms on their world and found them delicious. The reports to the GCS included this information, and the GCS begged the observers to make contact to learn of this technique. The denizens of this backwater world had just managed to bring hope to trillions of other sentients across the galaxy that perhaps there was a way to fight back against the Horde from the heavens. Hey family, a very big thank you to No One From New England for allowing me to narrate such an awesome tale. Be sure to check out their Reddit profile for more of their awesome works. If you would like to support us and make a donation, I'd be very much appreciative. I do have PayPal and a Buy Me a Coffee account. Be sure to also check out our merch store. There are plenty of items and designs to choose from. If you enjoyed this video, then why not check out the next one here on the right hand side. You can also follow us. All my socials and all my other links are contained within the Linktree link below. Take care everyone, and I hope you all have a wonderful and peaceful night. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not.